Some players talk just to be heard. But when Roquan Smith speaks, you listen, because he's not out there chasing attention. He's telling you what's really happening inside that locker room. And after the win over the Bears, he didn't hold back. He was straight up raw and brutally honest about where the Ravens stand right now. After weeks of criticism and doubt, the linebacker finally opened up, and the way he did it made everyone stop and pay attention. It wasn't some generic pep talk. It was real, it was sharp, and it might just be the moment that flips the entire season script. Sometimes, it only takes one player getting back to being himself to change the whole energy of a team. That's exactly what happened with Roquan Smith. For weeks, the Ravens' defense looked lost. No confidence, no spark, no rhythm. But against Chicago, Smith took the field with one clear mission: change the tone. From a very first snap, you could feel something was different. The intensity, the communication, the focus, everything looked sharper, more alive, more Ravens. Roquan played with that kind of controlled fury that turns tackles into statements. He finished with 12 tackles, and every one of them carried a message: we're not done yet. He locked down the middle of the field, diagnosed plays instantly, and shut down nearly every run that came his way. The defense that had been getting gashed on the ground suddenly played with authority, and you could see the difference. But it wasn't just the technique. It was the attitude. Roquan has this contagious fire. When he hits shouts and celebrates, the whole defense catches that energy. Suddenly, guys were flying around, linebackers were quicker to react, and even the secondary looked more confident. That's what real leadership does. It lifts everyone around you when the season's hanging by a thread. And the twist? This breakout performance came against his former team, the Chicago Bears. That made it personal. You could tell Smith wanted to prove how much he's grown since leaving Chicago. He didn't just lead the defense. He set the tone for what could be the team's real turning point. If this energy keeps spreading, that game against the Bears might go down as the spark that reignited Baltimore's season. Now, the big question, can they keep that same fire burning? Because if the Ravens keep playing with that mindset and intensity, this season might turn around faster than anyone expects. And that's exactly where the next part of this story begins. After 6 brutal weeks that felt like a nightmare, the Baltimore Ravens finally exhaled. That matchup with the Chicago Bears wasn't just another date on the calendar. It was a crossroads. Sitting at 1-5, without Lamar Jackson, confident shot, they knew one more mistake could end their playoff hopes for good. But instead of folding, they answered with one of their most complete performances of the year. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement, the kind that shifts a locker room and brings belief back to life. Tyler Huntley wasn't flashy, but he did exactly what Baltimore needed. Managed the clock, protected the ball, and kept drives alive. The ground game clicked, the offensive line finally looked steady, and for the first time in weeks, the offense found rhythm. On the other side, the defense, led by Roquan Smith, looked reborn. They attacked the ball, won the physical battles, and shut down the explosive plays that had been killing them. But the biggest change wasn't on the stat sheet. It was the mindset. The Ravens played with urgency, with that now or never edge teams only find when their backs are against the wall. Every snap felt charged, every tackle came with emotion, and every touchdown felt like proof that they still believe. It was one of those games where you can feel a shift happening, not just in the standings, but inside the team. And that's exactly what Roquan Smith put into words afterward. He talked about fresh energy, about starting over, about playing like every week is its own championship. And maybe that was a real win, not just beating the Bears, but rediscovering who they are. Now, the challenge has turned that spark into a flame, and that mindset became even clearer in Smith's post-game message. When the final whistle blew, it wasn't just the score that told the story. It was the body language, the faces in the locker room, and most of all, Roquan Smith's words. He spoke with the confidence of a man who knows something has shifted. We have the chance to do whatever we want, he said, with that mix of leadership and conviction that makes you believe him. It wasn't just a quote, it was a warning shot. The Ravens aren't looking back anymore. Smith talked about how this one felt like a new beginning. He mentioned the energy in practice, the unity in the locker room, and the importance of treating every week like a fresh opportunity. His message was simple but powerful. We're 1-0 this week. Now we've got to make it 2-0. It's a short week. We're already locked in on Miami. That's the mentality this team had been missing during the losing streak. Baltimore looked disconnected. Poor communication, no belief, no rhythm. But when your defensive leader starts talking about rebirth and the team follows through on the field, everything changes. That's how emotional turning points are born, when an entire locker room decides, together, that it's not done yet. And that belief might be what reshapes this team story. Because when a player like Roquan speaks, people listen. His leadership isn't just in tackles or stats. It's in his tone, his body language, and the way he looks every teammate in the eye before the next battle. And with Miami coming up fast, he knows that what they build against Chicago has to become the new standard. This feels like the start of something real. And this time, the leadership is coming straight from the field.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video. But before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
For the first 6 weeks of the season, it felt like nothing in Baltimore worked in sync. When the offense clicked, the defense crumbled. When the defense stepped up, the offense stalled. And special teams? They often just added to the chaos. But against the Bears, for the first time all year, the Ravens found balance in all 3 phases. Credit goes to players, but also to a coaching staff that finally seemed to understand what each guy needs to succeed. The game plan was simple but smart. On offense, Todd Monken gave Huntley rhythm with short, safe passes, keeping control of the clock and avoiding mistakes. On the ground, the running back committee wore down Chicago's defense and set up play-action opportunities. On defense, Mike McDonald turned the aggression loose with well-timed blitzes and physical coverage. It was a clear shift in mindset, less conservative, more fearless. That balance showed up in the execution, too. Baltimore won the time of possession, won the turnover battle, and showed poise in key moments, something they've been missing all season. Even special teams stepped up, helping the offense with solid field position. It was the kind of complete performance that shows how powerful the right adjustments can be when they come to right time. But maybe the most important part was psychological. The coaching staff seemed to understand what this group needed. Not more complexity, but confidence. The plan was clear, simple, and executable. And once the players started trusting what was coming from the sideline again, everything began to click. Now, with the team riding that new beginning energy, the mission is turning that balance into consistency, especially with short turnaround before the next big test. The win over the Bears was the first step, but the real test comes now. In just 4 days, the Ravens face the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football, one of the fastest, most explosive offenses in the league. That's the real challenge, keeping the fire alive. Winning one emotional game is enough. This kind of turnaround only becomes real when you can sustain it. There's no time to celebrate. Baltimore needs to recover fast, tighten the details, and bring the same intensity they showed on Sunday. The defense that dominated against Chicago will now face Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill, an entirely different kind of problem. It's a game that demands total focus, especially coming off such a high. The temptation to relax is real, but the Ravens can't afford it. On the other hand, this is a golden opportunity. Beating Miami under the bright lights would send a clear message to the entire league. Baltimore is back. It would prove that what we saw in Week 8 wasn't a fluke. It was the start of something bigger. It wouldn't just be another win. It would be proof that the turnaround has truly begun. And that's exactly what Roquan Smith means when he talks about a new beginning. Every game from here on out is another chapter in rebuilding this team's confidence. If Baltimore keeps playing with the same energy, discipline, and focus, what once looked like a lost season could become one of the most inspiring comebacks of the year. It all depends on staying locked in, and that road now runs straight through Miami. Roquan Smith didn't just talk. He showed what leadership really looks like. His performance against the Bears reflected the intensity and passion this team had been missing, and his post-game words made one thing clear. The Ravens are done playing small. This one reignited belief brought back the competitive edge, and gave the locker room a spark that could change everything moving forward. Now the question is simple. Is this new Ravens team here to stay? The showdown with the Dolphins will tell us if this fire is temporary, or if we're truly witnessing the rebirth of a team that refuses to quit. One thing's for sure. With Roquan leading like this, nobody's going to want to line up against Baltimore anytime soon.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.